And we are live. How are you guys doing? Thank you for tuning in to Art Autopsy. This is a bi-weekly live art stream. I'm your host, Clint Carney. I'm a professional artist working in the film and television industry. And every 2 weeks, I jump on to YouTube and do a live stream where I work on a new painting or an old painting sometimes and discuss my techniques with you. If this is your first time watching, I welcome you to the stream and I highly encourage anybody at home to get your art supplies out and make some art right alongside me. You don't have to make what I'm making. In fact, you probably shouldn't do that. You should just make whatever kind of art you feel like making. You can draw, you can paint, you can sculpt, whatever your art form of choice is. Just make some art during this stream, and this reoccurring bi-weekly stream gives you an excuse to make art at least every 2 weeks, if not every day, which I hope you're doing anyway. So, if you're watching, please say hi in the chat. Oh, I see Jennifer Goupil in the chat. Hello, Jennifer. So, if you do decide to make art during this live stream ever, I encourage you to email me what you create. My email address is clintcarneycreates@gmail.com. That's the name of the YouTube channel, at gmail.com. Send me a picture of what you've created during the live stream and I will share it on an upcoming stream. And Sarah is watching too. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? Um, so first off, I'd just like to start off by telling you a little bit about my Patreon. And first off, saying a huge thank you to everyone who supports me over there. So thank you, Jennifer, Tango 14, Travis, Anthony, Rachel, Derek, Sea of Dead Faces, Violet, Jill, Charlie, Misty, Donna, Necrotechnicon, Stormy Dragon, Sarah, and our newest member, Brian Swartz. So thank you all so much. Let's see, we've got Julie B and Liz Miller Design joining the chat. Hello, guys. So if you do send me a photo of what you've worked on during the stream, I'll share it during an upcoming live stream, and that is going to take us into the portion of the live stream where I show you what people made during the last stream. But before I get there, well, we're still on the topic of the Patreon. I just wanted to tell you guys about a little something I have. This is the first year of my Patreon. It's also the first year of bringing Art Autopsy to YouTube on my channel here. It used to be a live event at an art gallery at Hyena Gallery in Burbank. So to celebrate the first year of my Patreon and of Art Autopsy, I'm actually giving away a painting that was started during an Art Autopsy, and I'm giving it away to my patrons. If you want to find out more about that, go follow me over at patreon.com/Clint Carney. The URL's right above my head there. And you can find out how you can win this. So let's take a look at this painting first off. This is one I started a few Art Autopsies back. It's just a little Krampus Christmas ornament. So again, I'm giving this away to one of my patrons. If you want a chance to win, again, go check out the Patreon and you can find out how you can sign up for that. And I'll be doing a drawing on Christmas Eve. So on Christmas Eve, I'll draw the winner from one of my patrons, and you guys will get to take home this painting. I'll give it a nice varnish and a cool frame before it ships out. There you go. So let's get into some viewer art submissions. The first one comes to us from Jennifer Goupil. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat there, Jennifer, I think you have actually not missed a single Art Autopsy since I started this stream. And this is a fantastic piece. This might be my favorite piece of yours yet. This is Krampus, of course, and he's got a sack, presumably with a child inside. He's got his switch and his reed, or his switch made of reeds, and the bells on his horns. And I love the little detail in the background of the cabin with the smoke coming out of the chimney. So fantastic job, Jennifer. And if anyone has any questions for her, she's in the chat right now. So now's your chance to talk to her. And speaking of the chat, let's see, Charlie just joined us. Hey, Charlie. Um, and Jennifer says she has missed an episode. How dare you? Well, you've certainly watched a lot of them, so I appreciate you. So yeah, fantastic job on Krampus. And then the next submission comes to us from another longtime stream viewer, Liz, who is also in the chat right now, and her artist name is Phoenix. And this is an example of tattoo flash that she's creating. So Liz sent me these images, and I believe the smaller images here are reference images of the original Sailor Jerry illustrations that then Liz recreated digitally. So Liz, great job on these, fantastic, and I'd love to hear kind of what your process is. What program are you using to create these digitally? I know obviously you draw physically as well, so do you find the digital drawing more satisfying, or do you prefer drawing physically? So tell us what you think. I love digital drawing as well, but I'm obviously a sucker for hand drawing and painting and so forth. So great job, Jennifer and Liz. Those are our two submissions for the day. Now, today marks the 20th episode of Art Autopsy, and it is also the last Art Autopsy episode of the year. Now that I've finished that Krampus Christmas ornament painting, I have 3 other paintings that I started during different episodes of Art Autopsy throughout the year that I have not yet finished. So my goal is to finish them by the end of the year, but I'm going to take the time to work on all 3 of these over the course of today's episode, so you guys can see a little bit more about what finishing a painting kind of feels like from my perspective. And with any luck, we're going to finish 1 of them, maybe 2 of them. I can tell you right now, we're not going to finish all 3 of them, because 1 of them probably has another, I would guess, 10 to 15 hours left of work in it before I'm ready to call it done, just because I'm going to do some crazy stuff with it. But we'll get to that one last, and we'll chip away at it bit by bit. So first, let's take a look at some of the paintings that we're going to work on tonight. So this is the first painting I'm going to work on. I've made a lot of progress on it. This is the one I started during the last live stream. Let me tilt it a little bit to get rid of the glare. So I've done a lot of progress on it since. Normally in the live streams, what I've been doing is I do an underpainting, generally monochromatic, and then I glaze in the color. But this one, just to show you guys a little different technique, I just went right for color, no underpainting at all. I just went with bold colors right away. And to remind you how this one started, it started as just this really bizarre, crappy, probably 10-minute sketch that was just in my sketchbook from, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. But I always kind of liked it, and I thought it could turn into something cool. And that is what it has turned into thus far. So my mission for today, I would love to finish it during this live stream, but I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. But at the very least, we have our little squirrel here with his fishbowl helmet. I want to get him finished up. I'm going to redraw him a bit. This was just kind of my sloppy sketch drawing of him, but he's pretty chunky, and I think his squirrel anatomy could use some work here. And then he's sitting on top of this tree stump. So if I can finish him and the tree stump, I'll be satisfied with this session for today. But we'll see. I might add a little more detail in. I'm not sure yet, but certainly we're going to start by working on the squirrel and the tree stump. The next painting we're going to work on this evening is this one. So this has also made a lot of progress since we first started, but let me tell you what I hate about it that we're going to attempt to fix tonight. So the perspective on the skull is wrong, or it's just a little wonky, and it needs some fixing. So this eye socket here juts out a little bit. It might be hard to recognize if you're not used to drawing skulls a lot, but the more I look at it, the more the perspective on the skull bothers me. So if I were to cover up this part of the skull, I'm happy with all of that. Maybe need a little fixing there too in that part of the jaw. But that part, it's like it's a whole different skull, not even connected there. So I want to fix that for sure. And then this image by itself, it's fun. I'm okay with it, but it doesn't really have a story to it that I would like uh, to tell with it. So I think it's more interesting if this skull and this pumpkin are giant in scale, and I'm going to sell that by adding a character into the foreground right around here that will be, you know, yay tall, maybe, and therefore by adding a character right there, it's going to make this look massive. And I may or may not add something else into the background. That's it. That's a maybe, but definitely want to fix the skull, add a character there, and then I'll be ready to call that one done. And then the last painting that remains for Art Autopsy, of the Art Autopsy pieces I started this year, is this guy. And this one is the one I was talking about that is still going to take another 10 hours or so of work before it's completed. So, and the reason being, pardon me, I should get sponsored by LaCroix because I drink them in every episode. Send me free drinks, LaCroix. I know you're not watching. So this is still in a phase. This is one that did start as a monochromatic underpainting, and then I start glazing in the color. But through the process of glazing in color, oftentimes my paintings will go through this stage right here where they just feel very cartoonish and there's not a lot of realism to it. I mean, I know it's not a realistic image per se, but I think I can add a lot more realism in here. And then the main thing that I want to do is from one of these mouths, and I haven't decided which yet, but after I fix the main image and get it nice and more realistic, I want to add a roller coaster coming out of one of these mouths that's then going to wrap around everything and tie it together. And again, just to play with the scale. I love paintings where the reality of the scale is unclear because you're dealing with multiple different scales. So that's why I say this painting still has another 10 or more hours of work, because to draw a roller coaster or to paint a roller coaster wrapping all around this thing is going to be extremely tedious, shall we say, but I think that it's going to be super cool, and will make the painting that much better. We're not going to get to the roller coaster tonight, but I do hope to make progress on the other two paintings, and then just like continue working on layering in the color and working a bit more to bring some more realism into this piece. In general, by the time it's done, my hope is that it will be a lot more contrasty and not so flat. Right now it feels, again, very cartoonish and very flat, not a lot of dimension to it, and having the roller coaster encircle everything is going to help quite a bit. So let me catch up with what's happening in the chat real quick, and then we'll start painting. Charlie says, I thought his head was an apple. The squirrel, I take it. Let's see. Liz says it looks a little off. The skull. Yes, it does. I'm actually missing a lot of what's happening in the chat here. Liz says it thought it was a squash more than a pumpkin. Well, could be, you know. Squirrel painting looks like a green apple. Yeah, it'll hopefully look more like what I want it to be when I'm done. Jennifer says she loves a roller coaster idea. Sarah says 13 days to build a roller coaster. Yeah. Charlie says, remember Roller Coaster Tycoon? Yes, I do. That was a fun one. Okay, let's start on this. Let's start on our squirrel buddy over here, shall we? And I will check in with the chat throughout the night. If you have any questions for me, just put them in the chat. I may or may not see them, depending on how I get wrapped up, how much I get wrapped up in the painting. So, I apologize if I miss a question, but feel free to put it in there more than once if I miss it, and I'll try to address everything throughout the night. And let me show you my palette we're working with here. These are the colors that I've been working with on this painting, and I'm sticking with the same ones. I'm not adding anything new, at least thus far. So let's just talk about our colors real quick on this painting. We've got iron. I always call this thing the wrong color every time. Transparent oxide red. This is cadmium red. This is magenta. This is cobalt blue. This is blanking. Another blue. I'm forgetting the name. Not cobalt. that'll come to me. This is phthalo green, cadmium yellow, titanium white, and Mars black, or lamp black. My bad. Yeah, and then we're using liquid as our medium. I'm using two kinds of liquid on this one. I'm using original, which is more of a gelatinous flavor. Don't eat it. It's not good. And then I'm also using the fine detail liquid for when I need to get some finer detail on it, which is more runny. It's pretty liquidy as opposed to the less viscous, shall we say, than the original formula. And if any of you are making art at home tonight, I would love to hear about what you're making. So let me know in the chat what you guys are working on. And Liz beat me to it. Let's see, drawing an American traditional dagger, snake rose, sparrow, and eagle. I just have the eagle left. It's on paper. Excellent. Cool. What's everyone else working on? Or are you guys just enjoying the live stream and hanging out? That is fine as well. I'm just happy to have you here. I'm just getting some fresh paint on my palette, and then we will begin. I just have paint scattered everywhere. It is chaos over here. Sarah is at work again. Well, that's all right. You gotta pay those bills. Okay, what do I need? I need cadmium red still and transparent oxide red and magenta. Jennifer is crafting a Christmas gift, a crocheted bananasaurus. That sounds awesome. Oh, and Jennifer, I received the Christmas card from you and Charlie, and thank you. That was very sweet of you. Really appreciate that. Cerulean blue, that is the other kind of blue that I'm using in this painting other than cobalt. Okay, so let's start with reworking the messed up anatomy on this squirrel, shall we? This poor squirrel has just been a pear-shaped blob this whole time. So let's think a little more about what we can do to fix him. When I have a painting pretty well under control, oh, let's see. Undead of Night has joined the chat. Hello, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and working on Tales from the Crypt Santa. Oh, love that Santa. That is the scariest on-screen Santa ever, by the way. Okay, so what I was saying, when I get to this stage of a painting where it's not done, but it's getting closer, but there's no real blank spot yet, I find it helpful. I just do my new drawings. Usually I just take titanium white and draw over what I've already got, because that way it's a bold color that is going to pop out from the rest of it, and I can really keep track of what my intention is for the new version of the illustration versus what is the old shape of it all. So let's start doing that. And as much as possible, I'm going to try to preserve some of the color I put down here already, but just really want to fix the shape. And I'll even, sometimes draw a little, like this is going to be a shadow here, kind of coming in from under his arm, but I'm going to make note of it here just by kind of drawing the outline of the shadow. It's helpful to me to do that. Let's see. So the idea here, I don't know, I mean, I do like the idea of the space helmet. That was kind of in the original sketch, but the more I think about kind of what the story is with this squirrel, I'm kind of leaning toward more like, rather than he's about to venture into space, he's about to go diving, to go deep in there, because somewhere within the depths of this tree creature is a passage to the underground wherein lies the last stash of acorns in the world. And our intrepid adventurer is going to journey forth and find those final acorns. So in that regard, maybe a diving bell helmet is more appropriate, but we're in a fantasy world anyway, and I do love the imagery of a retro 1960s fishbowl space helmet, so with the antenna there. Okay, and some of this I'm just roughly getting it in just to get the idea, but it's going to be a little confusing until I start erasing all the stuff that I don't like. So let's see, and I do want to see a little bit of his head through here, so that, as I believe Charlie pointed out, it does not look like he's got an apple for a head, which, now that you've said that, I must admit that is 100% what it looks like. Oops, that head's a little small. I think he's going to need a bigger diving bell. In fact, here's a good case for why, or for when this the fine detail liquid comes in handy, because it's a little easier to get some clean line work on it. So I'm gonna just mix in a little of this fine detail liquid with my white and just try to redraw a better head here on him. And I'm just going to, his head is going to exceed the boundaries of this apple, because I've got to reimagine that anyway, increase the size of his helmet. So see, this is one case where it helps to have people watching, because sometimes those critiques or just notes about how something appears to someone else's eyes is super helpful. Okay, I'm already feeling better about that general shape. And we're going to give it a, I want this helmet to have a little bit of a base to it. Yeah, maybe like a ring around the bottom, which will probably help it not look like a piece of fruit. And then let's watch me poorly try to draw a circle and inevitably have to redraw it 100 times just to get it to look round. You try painting a perfect circle. I challenge you. It is not my strong suit. Good enough starting point. So let's start painting over the area where that was formerly our previous shape of the squirrel, and then I think that'll help our new illustration stand out a little more, and then we can start working on him. What do you guys think of this kind of general sketch? Do you like it better, worse? Did I just fuck up this poor squirrel, or is he doing better now? Let me know. Julie B is working on a turkey vulture portrait. That sounds awesome. Charlie absolutely should not feel bad now. I welcome that kind of feedback. Um, I was not intending to give you a hard time. I love critique, especially when it is dead on as yours was. So never feel bad about critiquing my work. Okay, I'm just gonna again just have kind of a approximation of like the medium color of the ocean that I'm just painting over. Of course, I'm gonna have to go back and fill in the detail of all of the colors rippling throughout the water, but for now I'm just trying to correct the illustration a bit. And this ocean color is a mix of phthalo green, cerulean blue, and titanium white. That's just I'm just mixing that up right on my palette. Again, it's just a approximation for the basic tone of the water, but we'll have to fix it up quite a bit to get it to match so that it doesn't look like a cover-up job, which it absolutely is. Okay, there we go. Now I'm feeling better about the shape of him. Let's let's work on that illustration a bit more now and start adding some detail back in. Sarah likes the glassier helmet. Looks less like an apple now. Yeah, sort of, I thought before, you know, I was going for a more opaque helmet, um, and I think it'll be cuter if we if we see the squirrel's head underneath as opposed to it just being opaque. So I think that's the way to go. Okay. And I went pretty crazy with the colors on, I mean, the whole painting is obviously crazy colors, but I went maybe a little too over the top on his fur color. Um, so I'm going to dial that back a bit and go for more of a natural squirrel fur. Why is that a tongue twister? I don't know. And then just allow for some of those colors to come through in reflected light, but make it look less like he has that color fur and more like it's just the bouncing of the light over him. And most of this, thus far at least, is for his head, is simply the transparent oxide red mixed with titanium white. I'm going to erase his eye for a second because it'd be easier just to get his fur in and then redraw the eye than it is for me to try to paint around an eye. And not that that eye was looking good to begin with anyway, so there was room for improvement. Nothing lost for it. And I'm going to introduce just a touch of cadmium yellow into and mix it with a little bit of titanium white, and just hit that on the edges here, so it's really feeling the warmth from the sunset here, just right around the edges. And I'm going to bring a little bit of that cadmium yellow and just work it back in here. So we have a little of that also coming through in the water. And now I'm just putting some liquid on my brush, no paint, no pigment at all. Oops, I lied, I dipped it in a little bit of blue without, unintentionally. But I'm just going to use that liquid and kind of smooth this white border out a little bit. So it's not quite as rough. I'm going to take a little cobalt blue. The cobalt blue is the darker blue that you see here and here. It's this color. It's this color primarily. Well, this is cobalt mixed with a little black, but that's pretty much the cobalt blue up here. So it's our darker blue in the scene. I'm going to take a little bit of that, and I'm just going to work that on the inside of this reflection, just hoping to sell it a little more as glass, like it's picking up different colors in the scene. And I don't know if you can see this on camera, but I keep a rag in this hand or on my lap at all times, and constantly as I go, I'm wiping my brush when in between colors here. So I'm not, I'm trying not to get, trying not to muddy up my painting too much. If you don't wipe your brush in between colors and you don't intend to mix them together, it's real easy to end up with a you know, just a brown, muddy mess in your painting. So and for his eye, I'm just going to do a little dab of, what do we got? Ivory black. I said lamp black earlier, but I lied. It's ivory black. I'm just going to do a little dot of black and then an even smaller dot of the titanium white on top of that black, just for the specular highlights. And I'm going to try to do that specular dot so gently so as not to mix with the black underneath at all. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if I succeed or fail at that. Okay, there's our eyeball. In fact, though, before I do the specular highlight on that, I want to build up the ridge of his eye just a little bit. So I'm going to take our highlight color of the cadmium yellow and the titanium white, just give a little more shape to it right there, just to fix the anatomy a bit on his head. And I'm going to use that same color, mix it with a little liquid, and just work in some little fur highlights, just real subtle. I don't know if you guys can see this on the live stream camera, but some of these details I think sometimes get lost in the stream because of the quality of the streaming camera, but you will see it reflected in the final piece. Okay, now I'm just going to take a little dot of the titanium white, and I'm going to mix it with a small amount of the cadmium yellow, but still keep it pretty bright. And I'm just going to give a little highlight dot right on top of the eye here. There we go. I'll work on that more later as that part, as it dries a little more. I'll go back and reinforce that. So that being said, that probably means that we won't quite be calling this one finished by the end of the night, but we are going to make some progress on it. And I want to add a little bit more shininess into the fishbowl itself. And I'm just doing this with some bold titanium white. Hopefully to give the illusion that it's glass. And I am going to mix up a little bit of cobalt blue with a little bit of our ivory black, and just go here. So this is like a little, I guess, I don't know what you would call it, a cowl or something that's underneath the fishbowl that kind of like the locks in and makes it airtight so that our squirrel can venture underwater. Just a little detail like that will, I hope, make it look less like he's got an air bubble over his head and more like he's actually wearing a piece of diving equipment. Okay. Charlie says there's different shades of black. I had no idea. Yeah, you got your Mars black, your lamp black, your ivory black. To be honest, I tend to use them interchangeably. I tend to use whatever black I happen to pull out of the old paint box, whatever one is closest to my grasp. There are artists out there who are more seasoned than myself that can tell you the difference between all of them and why you would want to use one kind of black in one scenario versus another kind in another. I am not one of those artists. I have honestly no idea. Maybe I'll look it up and report back in a future episode if anyone is interested. I've just never needed to know the distinction in my work. I mean, maybe it would be better for it if I did. I don't know. Hard to say. It's the downside of being self-taught. You know, you don't learn all the ins and outs like that, but over time you pick up on enough of them to get by. So now that we're coming up on the new year, I'm going to try to make some improvements to the live stream for next year. I don't know exactly what that's going to be yet. I use this is technical crap that none of you will give a shit about, but I'm going to say it anyway because I have you as a captive audience right now. I use a streaming software called OBS, which is like very basic limitations as to what I can do with the live stream. I can put the cameras on, I can put the little text graphics and stuff, but that's kind of it as far as what I'm able to do with that software. So I've been gradually learning another piece of software called Streamlabs, which is a little more complex and it can do a little more with the streams. I don't know it well enough to switch over to it yet for the live stream, but I'm gradually learning it, and it will be able to do things. I think I'll be able to embed the chat into the screen itself instead of having it in the side panel on YouTube. And I think the benefit of that would be, as of right now, I think if you go back and watch one of these chats after one of the live streams after the stream has taken place, I don't know whether or not you can actually see the chat. You can only hear me talk about the chat. So I think if I can get that to work and incorporate that chat as part of the actual on-screen recording, I think that would just be a cool thing for people who discover the live stream later on, so they can also see what's happening with you guys in the chat, you know. Oh, let's see. Brian says, is that squirrel related to Sandy Cheeks? Charlie says that maybe he's secretly promoting the new SpongeBob movie. Could be, could be. We'll never know. I would ask him, but he's got a fishbowl over his head, so I can't really understand what he's saying. But it is entirely possible. Random fact, Mrs. Carney's cousin, Stephen, used to write for SpongeBob back in the day. So she has always been a big SpongeBob fan. Although I will tell you, the original sketch for this that I drew 10 years ago, I certainly did not have SpongeBob in mind, but I can, now that you've pointed it out, I can certainly see that. Oh, Sarah points out if adding a chat panel might make it very hard to see the art when viewing on mobile. That's true. That's true. And Necrotechnicon says YouTube will play back the chat as well on a recorded live stream if you hit a button to open it. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know. All right, well, so I won't worry about that side of things then. But there are other features that I can add on the Streamlabs thing, yeah, to make this make the stream look a little more professional and stuff. So I'm certainly going to incorporate that on future streams in the new year. So you may see the stream look a little different next time or a couple times after. We'll see. One thing that will certainly be different, I need to change the thumbnail for all of these live streams, because you may have noticed I have grown my hair back out, although right now it is in that super awkward, still growing out, and I really need a haircut stage, so I'm still rocking the hat for a while, but unless I shave it off again, I should probably change the thumbnail to a picture of me with hair. Still debating whether or not to bring the mohawk back or to look like a productive citizen. We don't know. We'll find out. You guys will find out on one of these streams going forward whenever I get around to taking a long enough break from art to get a haircut. Okay, well, I'll tell you, I do already like this version of the squirrel a lot better than the original sketch from the first session on this painting. So, yeah, feeling a lot stronger about him already. And for those of you just joining the live stream, if you go back at the end of this and you watch the top of the stream, you'll get to see our viewer submitted art. Every week I ask if you're making art while you're watching the live stream, send me a picture of what you've created. My email address is clintcarneycreates@gmail.com, and I'll feature your art on an upcoming live stream. Today we had submissions from Liz and Jennifer, who are both in the chat, so it's certainly worthwhile at the end of the video to go back and revisit it and check out their awesome art. Love seeing the art that you guys create during the stream. I'm happy that I'm happy to see that you guys get something out of these live streams. I have a lot of fun doing them, and it keeps me painting, and glad that it's motivating some of you to make art as well. Oh, and also I'm doing a painting giveaway over on my Patreon. This is the Krampus painting done in a previous live stream, a little Krampus Christmas ornament, and I'm giving it away to one lucky patron over on patreon.com/Clint Carney. And that drawing is going to be sometime on December 24th. I'll announce the winner. So if you're on the fence about signing up for my Patreon and you wanted a good excuse to do so, sign up before the 24th and you'll have a chance to win that painting. Which will be yours to do whatever you want with. You can hang it up, you can set it on fire, you can screw some legs into it and use it as a TV tray. Whatever you want to do, it will be yours. And of course I will varnish it and frame it before it goes out to the winner. But I think what I'm going to do, because I mean this is the first year of my Patreon, and it's been a slow build, but
most of my patrons have really been with me since the start of it, and grows slowly. And I really just appreciate everyone who's supported my work. So I wanted to give a little something back. So I think this is going to be the beginning of a trend for my Patreon. I'll do one big giveaway at the end of every year. Um, there are some tiers, some of the ridiculously priced tiers, which kind of have giveaways throughout the year, but the every tier will be eligible for this kind of a giveaway. And I know not everyone, especially in these economic times, can afford to do a paid tier on Patreon. Totally get that. But I do want to point out that you can sign up for free as well. I do have a free Patreon tier, and that will that tier, basically you'll be sure to get all the announcements whenever I'm doing another live stream or have an appearance at a convention, or I'm doing a show with the band, or any kind of stuff like that. All of the announcement stuff that's pertinent to those who want to not miss an event. All of that stuff will show up on the free tier as well. So sign on up for that. Yeah, I mean, that squirrel's pretty close to being done. One more session on him after this, and I think that squirrel will be done ski. But moving on to the tree stump now. And I kind of like the crazy colors that I put in the stump to start with. So I'm gonna keep the tree stump pretty loose. Honestly, I'm just going to work in a little bit of detail here and there, kind of refine it a little bit. But overall, I think this is a painting that is going to be better suited with kind of a loose illustration to it. So, um, I'm not going to go too crazy with that. I did get pretty sloppy though with the original stump, so I am going to have to correct some of my slop. But with a painting, there's nothing that you can do to mess up a painting that you can't fix in the next session after it has dried. So you never really have to worry about that stuff. Um, that being said, yeah, I want to make this look a little more flat. It's kind of jutting out at a weird angle right now. I'm going to just kind of correct that just a bit. And I'm going to go back to my ocean color here, which again was a mix of phthalo turquoise, cerulean blue, and titanium white. And I'm just going to repaint that in to fix the shape of that. And I'm going to have to fix that on both sides. This ocean in general, again, I'm keeping it pretty loose. I'm not going too crazy with the realism on that, although it is going to need a little bit of love before this painting's called done. But today's session on this painting is more about just correcting the drawing and getting it in a little better position, and then there'll probably be one or maybe two final passes just to tighten everything up. I want to tighten up these fingers a bit, make the teeth a little more realistic, sell the narrative between the squirrel and that whatever that thing is a little better. And then there's some, the clouds are pretty sloppy, so I'll fix those to a degree as well. I'm very much a start sloppy painter and refine as I go. Just never been one of those artists that immediately drops the masterpiece on the first session. I know plenty of guys like that, and really fun watching them paint. But yeah, for me, I'm more of a multi-session kind of painter. Like to take my time with it, and to me, it also helps to live with the painting for a while. You know, like have it sitting on the easel or in your room for a while, and go back to it from time to time and re-examine it, and really make some judgment calls about what's working, what's not. You know. Charlie asks, how is William? William is awesome. He's doing great. Um, he meows me awake every single morning of my life because he is a little devil, but he's so cute. I let him get away with it. Let's see. Jennifer says it has a nice post-impressionist feel right now. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this one's certainly a lot different from the other paintings I've done this year, but I'm digging the vibe. It's different. Different, but not in a way that I dislike. If you're wondering why I'm wearing gloves this time, it's because some of these paints I'm using, like the cadmiums, are pretty toxic and they can seep in through your skin. And generally, I'm pretty bad about remembering to wear gloves when I'm working with them, but every once in a while, I remember that, you know, hey, it's probably a good idea. It's like the cadmium red, especially the cadmium yellows, you know, the cadmium in general is not a healthy chemical that you want seeping into your body. Okay, I'm going to go just a little bit lighter, I think, on the top of this tree stump just to give it a little bit of warmth coming in from the sun. And yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, what I would call nonsense colors happening in this painting that make zero sense in reality and are really just there because I like them stylistically. So um, that's just sometimes when you're painting, you just make a call, right? It's like realism versus looking cool, you know? Sometimes the more realistic thing is the thing that looks cool, and sometimes it's not. So, and as the artist, you get to make the call as to what's cool and what's not. And your judgment call will be reinforced by the person who buys the art or by the void left by the person who doesn't buy the art. If it sells, you made a good call. If it doesn't, goes in the stack. I wish I could tell you what makes people want to buy one painting or another, but it always comes down to personal taste. And you really can't premeditate an art sale. Nor do I think you should try to premeditate an art sale. I think you should really just try to paint what you love and put it out there in the world and hope for the best. Because if you think something's cool, there's going to be someone out in the world that also thinks what you're doing is cool. Um, and hopefully, eventually, the two of you will meet and they will get to take home one of your paintings and put it on their wall. Yeah, sometimes I'll do a painting and I'll just know in my core that no one will ever want to take that painting home and hang it on their wall. Because if you think about it, I think I mean, as someone who has a sizable art collection, original art from other artists, and has them prominently displayed in his home. I think it's your taste in art says a lot about you to people that come and visit your house. And sometimes I'll do a painting that is so weird or sometimes offensive in some way, and I'll just visually offensive, if not thematically, and I'll just think, oh man, no one will ever uh, even come close to wanting to hang this painting in their house, and then it will sell, and then I have to accept that I have zero idea what anyone wants to hang in their house. Um, and then other times I'll make a painting that I think is like a guaranteed sell. Like it's like I like it so much that I can't fathom how it wouldn't sell. And then it just dies in the pile of paintings in my garage, never to see the light of day again. So you really just don't know. Uh, art art collecting is again just such a personal thing. So I'm not, my prices are not cheap. I would, they're on the higher end of the low end, let's call it that. So it's not a casual purchase, but it's also, I'm not quite getting investment sales. I would say people are buying my art because they like it, not necessarily because they're buying it as a monetary investment. So, yeah, I don't, or at least that's my opinion, at least. Although I try to be conscious of those people who might want to buy as a monetary investment by being smart about the way I price it and the future of the work I make available for purchase, and when I choose to simply destroy a painting rather than lower the price point so as not to devalue the work that a collector who has put an investment in my work in the past, I don't want to devalue their investment ever. So I don't know why I'm going off on a tangent about art sales, but I guess the point was you can't premeditate a sale. That was the main salient point there. And this painting, I'm really digging this painting, to be honest, and I also have no opinion about whether or not I think it's going to sell. I don't know. We'll see. No one has seen it yet except for you lovely folks who tune into the live stream. So we'll see once it goes out into the wide world. Maybe shows at a gallery or two, or just goes online. We'll see what happens then. Charlie asks, have you ever just given up on a painting, or do you always keep tweaking them? I have given up on many paintings over the years, although I began feeling bad for the paintings. I tend to anthropomorphize paintings in my mind, and I was feeling a certain amount of guilt for giving up on some paintings before I gave them their fair shake. And eventually I arrived at the
philosophy of keep painting until you don't hate it. So now I try to give every painting a fair shake, and even if I don't like it, I'll keep working on it until it gets to that stage where I think, oh, this is okay, you know, or sometimes I'll be able to take a painting that I otherwise hate and take it all the way through to actually liking it. So I try to do it less and less. I still have lots of unfinished paintings, and I have delusions of one day going back and finishing up some that may or may not ever be finished. Um, yeah, I have quite the backlog, to be honest, of unfinished paintings, but I do have the best of intentions for giving them their fair shake to live in the world before setting them on fire, at least. I guess that's the other side of the coin there. I like to give them a chance to not be set on fire, but I also accept that I might one day set them on fire anyway. And I'm being literal. I do, from time to time, burn some paintings. But generally after they've had a nice long life. Okay, I think for now I'm good with this squirrel and you know, the bones of this stump. I think I'm at a point where we're going to move on to another painting. What do you guys think? Let's see. What's happening here? Jennifer asks, did the painting from the Satanic Panic exhibit sell? That is a painting I did for Hyena Gallery, and it is still hanging in the gallery. That is a perfect example of a painting that I still love to this day. But as I was painting it, I thought no one will ever hang this painting up in their house. And thus far I have not been wrong. It is an extremely graphic painting in both violence and sexuality, and it takes a very special someone to hang that painting up. I still hope that one day someone will find it. I would hang that painting up, but I have a lot of weird messed up art hanging in my house, but I don't know that anyone else would. We'll see, but as of right now you can see that beauty at Hyena Gallery. And to that end, I should also mention today is Bill Schaefer's birthday. Bill is the owner, operator, curator of Hyena Gallery. So if you know Bill, drop him a line and tell him happy birthday. Bill gave me my first shake in the art world, showed my art when no one else would, when it was especially weird and graphic and not well rendered, and he showed it anyway, and I am forever grateful to him for that. Let's see. Yep, pumpkin time. And Jennifer says it's so good but so wrong at the same time. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's what I like about it. Charlie says the David Lynch one sold like immediately. Yes, I was pleasantly surprised with that. I really enjoyed that painting. For those who don't know, I was part of a tribute show to David Lynch, which was held at the Last Bookstore in downtown Los Angeles, and I really enjoyed the painting I did for that. And that's an example of one where I didn't know whether or not it was going to sell, but I could have sold that painting literally 3 times over. It sold almost right away, and then I had other people who were trying to buy it after it sold. You know, I should have done 3 of them, but you never know. Okay, I need the palette for this guy. Oh, here it is. Okay, this one's very simple, very limited palette right here. So I'm going to stick with the same palette. There's a little small guy right here. So let's talk about colors here. Transparent oxide red, yet again. Turquoise, titanium white, ivory black, cadmium orange, cadmium yellow. That's it. Very basic color palette. We're going to stick with that again. I I think we're going to stick with that again. I do want to, so to recap, if you weren't watching at the beginning of this stream, a couple things I want to do to this painting. Right here, the skull's a little wonky, right? Okay, let's face it, it's wonky. This half of the skull needs work. So I'm going to try to correct that as best as I can. The difficulty with this is that this is a multi-stage painting. So it started as an underpainting, and then it had several layers of color glazed over the top of it. If I were smart, I would have fixed the illustration at an earlier stage, but I did not. So now, when you're at this stage of a painting and you have to fix the illustration underlining the painting, it's difficult. It's more difficult than if I had fixed it in the underpainting stage. And you know, the messed up thing is that I knew it was bad at that stage, but I thought maybe the color would kind of mask it. I got lazy. All right, that's the answer. I got lazy, and I didn't fix it when I first noticed it, and it got away from me, and now it looks like shit. So I got to try to fix it. This might be a multi-stage fix, right? It might not come together in one session because I might have to do a session, let it dry, and then come back in with some more color glazing. But I want to at least get this underpainting to a point where I feel good about it. That's step one. And then the next stage of this painting is I want to play with the scale of this skull and this pumpkin by adding a figure into the foreground that's going to be standing somewhere in this quadrant of the painting, kind of looking up there. And ideally the light from within the painting is going to be casting a long shadow across the bottom of this, and that's the plan. Oh look, my gloves are squeaky. Love that. Okay. Let's squeeze out some fresh paint onto the palette, because everything on the palette right now is dry. So again, Iron Oxide Red by Michael Harding Paint. Phthalo Turquoise by Gamblin. Cadmium Orange by Winsor Newton. Cadmium Yellow, also by Winsor Newton. Titanium White by Winsor Newton. And Ivory Black, you guessed it, Winsor Newton. I do have oddly different brands of paint that I prefer for different pigments. You find the more you paint and the more you try out different kinds of paint with different colors, you'll find your own preferences as you go. One thing I wish the good folks at Winsor Newton who make Liquin, these fucking lids on the Liquin are sometimes impossible to open. Now is one of those times. It's like a safety cap on a medicine bottle, only worse. But success, it is now open. And for those watching who haven't watched before and haven't heard me explain or talk about Liquin ad nauseum, let me just give you a quick recap. Liquin is a medium. I mix it with my oil paints sometimes for effect. And it has two purposes. It can thin out your paint, make it stretch out further, makes it thinner so that you can glaze on paint, and that's when you put put a thin layer of the paint on and you can still see the underpainting underneath it, so it allows you to work in thin layers. It also can be used to accelerate the dry time of paint. And anyone who has painted in oil probably knows that it takes a long time to dry. So sometimes mixing it with a medium can help get you through one stage of drying faster, so that you can get to your second session faster. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What sucks about this skull? For one thing, the socket here is out of place. I got to bring the socket in closer. I am simply just drawing this in with phthalo turquoise, just trying to correct that socket. And if I can get away with having to do this in multiple sessions, I certainly will, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably mess it up in the process of trying to fix it before I fix it, so and when I'm doing something like this, a lot of times I just squint my eyes, kind of unfocus them a bit, and that helps me see things as shapes. That's one trick that I employ. A lot of artists do. Um, okay. I'm going to do some of this fairly sloppily, just so I can get a quick view at whether or not these corrections are good or bad. So just putting some bold swaths of orange in there. Already that's 100 times better. It's not there yet, but it's already I feel better about the shape already, even with these very minor corrections. Yeah, sometimes it is just a very small thing that fixes something, and other times it's a whole overhaul. In this case, I think I'm gonna get away pretty pretty easily, get off pretty easily with a few just minor tweaks on this one. I'm shocked. I thought it was going to take more, but I'm already actually not feeling too bad about the shape just from those few minor corrections. And so when I was a kid, which was about 100 years ago, I really took the time to study the anatomy of the human skull. And I still, even to this day, need a reference from time to time. I keep a skull over here next to me. It's a replica. This one was made by Bone Clones. It is a resin casting, but molded from a real skull. Although I do have real skulls too, just not in the garage. And if you are interested in drawing or painting people, or animals for that matter, any kind of living thing, studying the anatomy of what is going on underneath the fur, underneath the skin, will improve your renderings so much. I can't overstate it. Try it. If you draw people and creatures, whatever, and you're feeling a little
not so proud of how your renderings are coming out, try spending some time learning the anatomy of that thing and understand the bone structure that's happening beneath the surface, the way the muscles and tendons move over that bone structure. Um, and I'm not here saying I'm an expert at all of this stuff, I just, but I do pay attention to it, and I think, you know, I get better with it the more I practice it, and you will too. So, the main thing with that is just it gives you, if you study that sort of thing, the structure of how things work, and really the same thing applies to anything you want to paint. If you just look at the real thing and study it, pay attention to what connects there and why it connects there, it's going to improve your work. It can't not improve your work. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked by how what little amount of brush strokes it took just to get that skull in better shape. It's not perfect yet, but yeah, it's getting better. Just gonna make a few more little tweaks to the skull for right now, and then we're gonna move on to adding a character in the foreground. Since this is, I think, at its core, a Halloween painting, and you guys know I love me some Halloween. I think our foreground character is going to be a trick-or-treater, which will also give me the chance to paint another pumpkin bucket. I did a painting on a recent live stream. Again, I know a lot of you already know this because you're watching the live stream, but for those who didn't, I did a painting on another live stream where I painted like a monster dressed as a ghost, like in a sheet holding a pumpkin bucket. And I don't, for whatever reason, a very basic painting, like not much to it, but it's just one of my favorite things that I've painted this year. I don't know why. And so I really liked the way that the pumpkin bucket especially came out. And I'm a big Halloween guy. I have in my office, I have a big wall of masks behind me, which if you ever follow me on social media, you've probably seen the wall of masks behind me in a lot of posts. But on another wall, it's virtually all pumpkins of all different shapes and size, blow mold pumpkins, pumpkin buckets, all kinds of stuff. I'm just, yeah, I don't know. I'm a sucker for the nostalgia of Halloween of yore. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add a little trick-or-treater. Not the same trick-or-treater from the other painting. This is going to be a new trick-or-treater. But I think it will make a nice companion piece to that other painting because they both, now that I think about it, they both have the exact same color palette, except for there was a little bit of green in that one, just on the hand of the creature holding the pumpkin bucket. That was a little bit of green in that, but that was it. And to go back to my point from a little bit ago about premeditating what's going to sell and what's not, I thought with almost absolute certainty that that painting of the trick-or-treater would sell immediately. And I thought that because I loved the painting so much, and it got really just a lot of very nice things people said about it online. And I thought, oh, this thing is going to fly out the door.
I still have it, but I like it so much that it is now hanging in my office over my desk. So I enjoy looking at it. So I'm actually okay that it didn't sell, but it will probably still sell one day. And I did move a good amount of prints of it, so that's something. If you want a print of that painting or of any of the paintings I do here on Art Autopsy, I do have them available at clintcarney.com. I do these really nice 8 by 10 gallery wrapped canvas prints. They come ready to hang and stuff. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, over on clintcarney.com, you can own your own print. Okay. Yes, that skull is much better. Let's add a figure into the foreground. And again, trick-or-treater, which means, you know, probably a little kid. This time, since we did a ghost for the last trick-or-treater we painted, we are going to do a witch. So, because I'm going to be covering up part of the painting here with this character, I really want to think about the placement. Although, I will say too, this part of the painting is dry. It's completely dry. So, as I sketch this new character in there, if I mess it up, I can probably just get a little turpenoid on my rag and wipe it up. It won't be the end of the world if I do mess up the illustration, but I always do try to be a little cautious when I'm painting over a section. I'm going to start with the witch hat. It's the brim of the hat. And I'm just blocking it in, right? Just getting shapes in here. Ooh. I'm going to leave a little, we're going to do a little band around the top of the hat here, so I'm going to just get some turpenoid on my brush and wipe away some of this turquoise just to let the absence of the turquoise there be a basis for the color of the band. All right. And let's see, I need to make some bolder moves here so I can understand the scale of this first, and then we'll go back in. I don't know why I'm being so precious with this stage of the sketch. I can just block it in. I think it's going to be basic shapes. I don't think there's going to be a lot of detail. The focal object of this is the skull. You know, this is just a nice little foreground thing to mess with the viewer's perception of the scale. This is one of those times, this particular piece, I wish I had sanded the board a little more before I started painting, because there's still a lot of rough texture to it, and sometimes I'm finding that the paint doesn't want to flow off my brush the way I want it to.
because it's just rough, you know, so. And again, we're going to give a little pumpkin bucket there because you can't go wrong with a plastic pumpkin bucket. And just do some quick outlines for the legs. Shoes. Those are super rough. That's okay. And then our light's coming out of here. So let's think about what that's going to do to our shadow. Our ground texture is all over the place. I haven't really refined that at all, so I'm not worried about the texture I've already established on the ground. I'm just going to add this shadow in as if this ground is flat, and then fix the ground texture around it accordingly. And this. Got a little too crazy with the shadow. Or maybe, actually, I thought I was trying to remove some paint there, but I think that paint I was trying to remove just then was from the first session on the painting, so I think that's already baked in there. So we're going to have to do a little more repair on around this shadow just to work out the shape, but there we go. You guys still with me? You guys still wide awake, or did I lose you guys? Have you fallen asleep? And I'm just taking a little bit of the cadmium yellow, mixing it with some titanium white, and we are running that across the edge here, just giving it a little rim light action. And I'm going to go with perhaps a bolder orange for the what do you call it, the band around the hat, and maybe we're going to continue that through with the collar here on the witch costume, just to give it a little dimension. And the turquoise is still quite wet underneath here, and that's okay. I'm actually going to let that mix right with my orange, muddy it up a bit because that's on the shadow side. So I'll just go in there and get it a little brighter where it might hit the light, but let it fall off into shadow. Jennifer says she should have stripy legs too. I was thinking the same thing, kind of like Wicked Witch of the East when the house falls on her, and or is it Wicked Witch of the West? Whatever Wicked Witch has the house dropped on her with the stripy tights. I think that's the way to go. Great minds think alike, Jennifer. I'm just going to add just a little hint of highlights into the fabric here, just to kind of hint at the kind of the cloth billowing down. But again, it's on the shadow side. It's very dark, so we don't have to go crazy with it. Oh, look at that nice, shiny, bold pumpkin bucket orange. Don't you hate when you're out trick-or-treating and you come across a giant skull in the forest? Because that's typically where one trick-or-treats, right, is the forest. I hate when that happens. Oops. Got a little sloppy with my sketch here. See if I can just throw some turpenoid on my brush and try to scrub away some of the slop. And that's actually working out all right. What do you know? What do you know? And we'll just give it a kind of a traditional triangular jack-o'-lantern eyeballs here. And a nice jagged jack-o'-lantern mouth with sharp teeth. We're probably going to have to go back and fix up this pumpkin bucket with a little bit of love here and there once the paint is dry and we're ready to move on to a little more detail in there. But I'm painting pretty thick at this stage, so kind of backing myself into a corner in terms of what I can and can't do with the detail right now, just because I threw that paint in so thick. All right, so we're going to go, as Jennifer suggested, with the stripy tights or leggings or whatever on this trick-or-treater. But first I'm just taking some turpenoid and cleaning up the sloppiness of my leg structure. Okay. And I think I'm debating whether or not to introduce another color and do like red stripes, or to stick with this limited color palette and just keep them orange and white. We're gonna keep it limited and stick orange and white. We can always, if we change our minds later, we can always introduce a new color later. But for now, orange and white it is. And just be conscious of where the light source is, keeping the white and the orange brighter on the side where it's going to hit the catch the light coming from inside the pumpkin mouth. So I start out with the paint a little bolder on that side, and then wipe my brush and just drag that bolder color around the edge, and as it thins out, as it moves around the contours of the leg there, it just naturally moves into the shadow side.
What's happening in our chat right here? It's like a Halloween version of Hansel and Gretel. The stepmom dropped her out in the woods. Yeah, totally. Let's see. It looks like, Julie B says, it looks like pre-trick-or-treating and they're asking the Halloween gods for a plentiful bounty. I like that. And Liz says, I love the detail of the tiny plastic pumpkin. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I'm already, you know what, I already feel a lot better about this painting in general. I knew it needed something. The pumpkin, the skull and the pumpkin by itself wasn't as interesting as I had hoped it would be. And I think just having this little character in the foreground adds a story to it that just wasn't there before. And I think that's kind of exactly what it needed, just to be more interesting, to be a more intriguing of a piece. So I'm glad I made that change. And now I'm just getting some turpenoid on the brush, and I'm trying to fix that a bit. But yeah, I think some of that darker color was just there already in the background. So once this dries, this is a mess right now, this shadow, because I should have not been lazy and corrected the texture in the ground before I added the shadow, but I didn't, and now I have to let this dry before I can fix the rest. But yeah, that's a lot better already. What do you guys think? Do you like it with the character, or did you like it better without? I like it better with the character. Yeah, let's move on to painting number 3, which is this beast. And we got to take our palette off the back. And I got to move my other palette to a safe spot. Oh, hey, here's something I want to show you guys. I probably showed these at a previous art autopsy, but I am going to show them again because now I've made them available for purchase. This is a little bust of the creature from the movie Monster Squad, personal favorite of mine. And yeah, just always liked the design of this. I thought it would be real fun to try my hand at making my own. So I sculpted this dude in Blender, and then I 3D printed him and painted him up. And yeah, I'm making a couple of them available. So if you want to get your own, this is $175 shipping, including shipping anywhere in the US. Just drop me a DM on any of my socials if you're interested. If you're not, I forgive you. I can take off the gloves now because I'm not working with the cadmiums on this painting yet. So, as I said at the top of the stream, with this painting, my main gripe with this painting right now, well, it's not a gripe, I'm just not there yet. This is one of those slow process paintings. It goes from an underpainting, you start glazing on color, and inevitably in the glazing process, you get to a stage like it's at right now where it just looks somewhat flat and pretty cartoonish, which it certainly looks both flat and cartoonish. Um, so you just keep refining and refining and refining, and then eventually the dimension comes in and it looks a little more realistic. And in this case, eventually, though not tonight, I'm also going to add a roller coaster coming out of one of these mouths and wrapping around this whole shape, and that's going to, I think, add a lot to it. Um, so yeah, this is just a painting. I've just been noodling away at this painting bit by bit. Um, and when I need a break from another painting, I've been returning to this one and just chipping away a little bit at a time. So it's been a slow build, but I've enjoyed just having this one sitting around in my garage. And the more I look at it, the more ideas come to me about what I want to do with it in the future. And then I came up with that idea for the roller coaster, which I think is going to be a cool addition to it. I am going to harvest some of this liquid from this other palette so as not to waste it. Throw that on this palette. So I'm just going to work a little bit on this hand up top, just wash in some more colors, kind of refine what's happening under the skin a little bit. And I'm going to add some tattoos to the knuckles as well. So that's what we're doing. Oops, I just moved the easel. Let's see, is it still aligned with the camera? Close enough. Okay, I'm going to take some alizarin crimson, thin it out quite a bit with liquid, and just use it to kind of refine some of these shapes on here. Now the idea is that these fingers right here are kind of gripping underneath this mouth. So I have to make a little more distinction on the separation between the knuckles, and then this finger here is going into this fleshy hole, for a lack of a better way to say that. And this finger here is going into this eye socket, also fleshy hole of an eye socket, let's say. So yeah, I'm just going to work on the rendering a little bit of the detail on the color, and see if I can't get the shape and the motion of what I intend for this hand to work a little better. The reason I like doing like that, this has been a fun painting just to have around in the in my garage here and just chip away at it bit by bit, is because a lot of this stuff is just very, I guess a lot of people might think of it as very tedious detail, but for me it's more of like meditative detail. Like I can just kind of zone out when I'm doing this kind of work on a painting like this, and my mind can be elsewhere. So this is a good like end of the night painting to return to. And that's why we're doing it at the end of the stream here. Now that things are winding down, we've made great progress on 2 other paintings this evening. So to just close the night off with doing a little bit more work on this guy seems appropriate. So has anybody, anybody make any good progress tonight during the stream on your own pieces of art? You still working on it? Anybody finish a piece during the stream or start a new piece? And anything exciting to report? Tell me all about it. I do also, not to make things a downer at the end of the night, but man, I do want to acknowledge what a loss we experienced this week with Rob Reiner. Um, sure, you guys have heard about that ad nauseum, so I'm not going to say too much about it other than that he made films that I personally quote all the time, right? Maybe it's just one of those filmmakers that has so many quotable lines from his films that have just made their way, permeated my life, and by all accounts, he was a really good dude who made great art and enriched the world with what he made. So it was a big loss, but it's also a great example of how one person can really have such a great impact on other people just through making art, and his medium, of course, was film. But yeah, he was just a fantastic artist and filmmaker, and yeah, sad that we lost him. And I'll tell you, a lot of his films, I have films that I go back to in my life often. There's many films that I watch over and over again. Some films are almost an annual watch. Some films I watch over and over again. And I'll tell you, just this last year, um, what did I watch of his just this last year with that as just the natural course of rewatching movies? I watched Stand By Me. I watched Misery, The Princess Bride, um, uh, Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. So great. I have not seen the new This is the new Spinal Tap movie, the sequel to This is Spinal Tap, but I did see it just showed up on streaming services, and I do need to go watch it because the first one is just not only one of the funniest movies ever, but just as a touring musician, it's obviously completely a parody, but there's so much in there that is just shockingly accurate to what it is like to be a touring musician. Um, that it's so relatable as a musician as well, um, at so many levels. So anyway, rest in peace, Rob Reiner. And as you can, now this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's like meditative and I guess they're noodling around with paint, doing very, very small moves that um, will have a big impact on the overall finished piece. But this one is going to be in stark contrast with the space squirrel painting from the beginning of the night, in that painting I'm keeping very loose in terms of not over rendering it, not concealing brush strokes, really just letting those brush strokes live and be bold. And this particular painting, I'm taking the time to refine the brush strokes more and
get everything softer and to a degree more realistic, although again this is not a realistic life form. But um, it's just two different approaches to it. And as I work on different paintings, I find that the paintings let you know what form they want to take. You know, as you work on them, you you begin to get an understanding of whether or not the painting wants to be um, more rendered or live in kind of that looser, more uh, painterly, I guess, for lack of a better word, state. So again, I think that goes back to me having the tendency to anthropomorphize my work, but you know, to some degree, they do end up with their own little personalities. See, like I just spent a good 10 minutes just working on this one finger, which I'm fairly sure is not good television. So I'm sorry, guys. Maybe we'll maybe we'll wrap up this stream sooner than later because that's all. This painting is going to be me making very subtle moves all the way through the end of it until I get to the roller coaster stage, and then it's going to be me meticulously painting, you know, all the slats and wood structure of the roller coaster, which is again um, maybe not the best television, but I'm certainly filming the whole process, so you'll be able to see a time lapse of it, which is probably infinitely more interesting to watch it all come together in a minute than it is for me to do this kind of tedious work, you know. Gothneck, this is looking really good, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. Always good to see you. Rank Idol Skunk says, this is rad. Have you ever made any album covers for artists? Thank you so much. First off, I appreciate that. And yes, I have done a lot of album covers for artists over the years. No real like huge artists. If you're into industrial music at all, well, I do all of the art for my own band, System Sin. I've done album artwork for God Module. What else? Man, I'm blanking now. I've done a lot of art for album covers. The names are escaping me. A lot of smaller bands over the years, but always love doing that. It's cool when people can discover your art in a different context, like the context of an album, you know, because to some degree, I don't know if it's this way anymore, because a lot of people just discover music on Spotify. But certainly when I was growing up and discovering new bands, more than once, quite often, in fact, if I was looking for a new band, I would go to the record store and sometimes I would make a purchase based on the album cover alone, not even knowing what I was getting into, but if it was a rad album cover, sometimes I would just buy it and
Discovered a lot of cool music that way. So it's always an honor when you get to do art for someone's album cover, because it's just intrinsically tied to that collection of songs forever, and that becomes the fans' visual representation of what that album is. Again, I don't know if it's the same anymore. People consume music than they differently than they used to, but I still think it's cool to be involved in such a thing. Yeah, so again, this is just subtle skin tone work that's happening on these hands right now. And I mentioned earlier, I do want to add tattoos to the knuckles on here, but that's not going to happen tonight because this layer is going to have to dry before we can really move on, unless we want to cause some serious damage to the good work we've already done. But yeah, you know what? I think we've crossed over into the point of the night where watching me do very subtle work is not translating well to the live stream. So, in the interest of keeping, not making it bad television, let's just call it. I think we're going to wrap it up for the night. But let's see. Liz says that's how they choose a bottle of wine. It has a rad label. Nice. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up for the night. We made good progress. Let's take a look at what we did so far, just so we can enjoy the fruits of our labor. We worked on this squirrel and the tree stump on the bottom there. Got him in good shape, a lot better than he was when we started. And then we refined the skull, kind of improved its shape and proportions, and then added this trick-or-treater into the foreground of this piece. And then we just did some very subtle work on the hand up here. Again, this one's got, I would say, a solid 10 hours left in it before I'm ready to call it done. But I think for the sake of the live stream, we're 2 hours deep. A lot of you guys have stuck with me from the beginning of the stream. I thank you all for watching and for tuning in. And yeah, hope you have a fantastic night, and I will see you again in 2 weeks.